Here we are. Happy Wednesday, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Good. How are
Good.
you, I guess?
Doing good. I'm sitting in Broadcom Central today. It's a little quiet here in Palo Alto today, but it's kind of nice. I'm getting stuff done. Super good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful day out here. I'm in the East Coast,
Hmm.
and New York City this time of the year, it's just phenomenal too.
It's
If I
perfect.
were not doing this, I would probably step out and take a stroll.
Yep. I apologize ahead of time for bringing you in, but we appreciate having you here today because I know we got a lot of good content scheduled up. How about you, Darin? Where are you based out of?
I'm out of Minneapolis. It's a
Oh.
balmy 68 and sunny out right now. We just had the last couple of days were a little bit stormy, so
Mhm.
it's a nice cooled off temperature.
Beautiful. I've got family out there, and this is traditionally the time of year that we bombed over into Wisconsin and went to the Dells to go take advantage of the balminess near a few extra lakes.
Yes.
Good
Yep.
good times. Shout out to Tommy Bartlett's Robot World for those of you who are in the Midwest. All right. It looks like we got a lot of folks going on here, so I'm going to go ahead and get us started. I'm going to talk real quick about what we have going on. So. Today, we're actually discover three ways of VCF Power Cloud surpasses traditional public cloud with Harsh Singh and Darin Schmitz. Coming up next week, we're going to have What's New with VMware vSphere Foundation with Himanshu and Harshad Kolte. We've actually had both of those fellows on before. They're fantastic presenters. And then coming up end of June, it's actually a twofer. It's the 25th and then 26th. Transform Your Cloud Strategy with VMware Cloud Foundation with Rick Walsworth and Sabina Anja. And then after that, we have Explore. So we are open for registrations for Explore. And in fact, we have extended the early bird pricing a little bit. So I would say get in there quick while that extension is still in place. Las Vegas is taking registrations right now for August 26th through 29th. A lot of good programming there. And so you can scan the QR code or you can go to vmware.com and go to the Explore links and just follow your way to registration there. So definitely register early while we've got the early bird special going on. It's a good chunk of money on that early bird special, so you definitely want to be part of that. So that said, let's see who's talking today. It's me.
Okay.
Let's get everybody going on. Gentlemen, tell us a little bit about yourselves. Harsh, how about you first?
So, I let's see. I joined VMware around 5 years back.
Mhm.
So I was the head of sales for Tech Mahindra. It's a GSI. I was leading the healthcare business, basically infra and a vertical business, you can think of it.
Mhm.
It was a great run, and then my mind changed, and I was like, okay, what should I do next? And this opportunity popped up when VMware was getting or had got into VMware Cloud on AWS, and from there I started managing the whole hyperscaler pitch. That okay, what's the value not just of just VMC on AWS, but with Azure, with Google, with Ali, with IBM, everyone. Then, and like I've done a lot anyways, I'll stop. At this point in time, I lead the hyperscaler go to market as well as the GSI front. So essentially, think of it that the go to market routes, the whatever we do from the hyperscaler front, that the whole partnership, not just the value of one cloud, but why did we partner? What is it that the partnership brings to the table at a level that, say, a CXO can appreciate? And the same you can think about at GSI. So yeah, that's me, Darren here.
Yeah. Again, my name's Darin Schmitz. I work on the VMware Cloud team alongside Harsh. I was brought on about 2.5 years ago to help support our friends over at Google. I'm a senior technical marketing architect, basically supporting Google Cloud VMware Engine.
Awesome. And just as a reminder to everybody, if you can go ahead and ask questions in the Q&A, please do that rather in the Q&A rather than the chat so that we can track the questions. But that's why we're here. Don't be shy about it. If you have questions, hit them up and we'll either answer them in line in the Q&A or we'll answer them live, either or, depending on how we're doing. So again, don't be shy. Go ahead and ask questions because that's what we specialize at. So with that, I'm going to get out of here and let you take it away.
Thank you, Anders. By the way, before we start, I'll echo what Anders told about Explore. It's a phenomenal event. You guys would have seen a lot of things that we have been doing. This year is a bit different, and I would say extra special, owing to multiple things that AI, for that matter, has been the talk of the town. When I say town, it's the world. And there's a lot that we are doing, and we are showcasing things that really would help you go beyond what people are talking, not just on the AI front, but overall on the solution side. So if you can, please do, and we look forward to meeting you guys out there. With that, let's dive in. So what we have done is that I've broken up the presentation into 3 broad parts. We'll start about the why, because if you look at it, there's a private cloud that we are the undisputed leaders. Now, what is the value, or why did we even partner with the hyperscalers? That's where we will start. When do you need the solution like that? What are the benefits? We'll get into it. Then Darin will do a demo to showcase really how it would feel like. And finally, we'll discuss few proof points and how to, essentially, if you want to buy, what are the routes to market? Can you look at it? With that, let's dive in. So if you look at any analyst, and this is just, by the way, any study that is there in the market. So if you look at in 23, what Gartner mentioned is that 72% of enterprises have deployed a hybrid cloud strategy in their organization. So 72% customers have a blend of public cloud, such as AWS, Azure, Google, or someone else, as well as an on-prem presence. And what they predict is that by 2025, 95% of new workloads will be deployed in a hybrid environment. So essentially, every customer, you can say almost every customer, will have a hybrid environment. Forrester resonates the same thing, that 86% of businesses are actively considering a hybrid cloud strategy. And again, it's like, when I say strategy, it's more what is there, and now let's make peace with it and ensure that it's future proof. And that's what Forrester has mentioned. And if you look at IDC, along the same lines, hybrid cloud will account for over half of global IT infra spending. Now, seeing that, and there were a lot of customer discussions that we have been having with any of customers, be it an enterprise, be it an SMB, or any customer for that matter. And everyone was like, guys, look, it's good that you guys are providing a solution for the on-premises, but the reality is that we don't want to have a data center at every location for that matter. So, or for that matter, we want to leverage services from the hyperscalers. Can you provide a service that extends from on-prem to cloud or between clouds and anywhere in between? And that was the genesis of why we provide a hybrid solution. Now, if I look at it, this is a simplistic view of what VMware Cloud is. So it can be a self-managed. So you are doing anything. When I say self-managed, it can be a team of your own. It can be a GSI, it can be an MSP, it can be anyone. But essentially, you're not buying the solution from a, say, hyperscaler. Second, could be a partner managed cloud. And this is where the whole magic comes into play. So if you want to have services from Google or Oracle or Azure or AWS, you can have the same software stack or same services, and you can extend it to the cloud of your choice. The beauty of it is that you will have a single operational model, and you will be able to access services as and when need be. And if you look at data provided by anyone, most of the customers, barring few, utilize the core services or server, storage, compute for almost 85 to 90% of the workloads. Services like like ML, AI, database, analytics, all these things, they account for 10% just around that time. Now, in that, you don't make a decision for 10%, you make a decision for the core, and other things should come along. Now, if you ask, like, what are the benefits if you look at a VMware cloud? So there are multiple. First is investment protection. So say you buy a VCF stack. Now, at this point, it was a data center that you wanted to own for a variety of reasons. It can be compliance needs. It could be you have workloads that need 5 nines of availability. It can be a deluge of reasons why you would want. At the same time, you want to hedge your bets that, okay, if things change, or if I want to go in a new region, if I want to expand, what can I utilize cloud? Certainly, you can move the things seamlessly. Say, for instance, you bought 10 licenses and now you want to use 8 licenses for your on-premises and 2 for cloud, like on cloud. You can move it seamlessly for any of the clouds that I'm mentioning. Second, it's a best in hybrid cloud solution. And later on, I'll show some proof points where you'll understand, like, what we did is that we built it from the grounds up. So it's the only solution that's there in the market that transcends natural boundaries of multiple clouds, as well as a public cloud to a private cloud. So you have seamlessness across. So rather than having multiple operational models, you can have a single model that gives you the benefit of private, public, or a hybrid cloud. And finally, when you modernize, look, modernization is not a one and done game. You will modernize today. So let's look at a simple thing. AWS has been the undisputed leader when it comes to public cloud. Now, if I look at AI and ML, for a variety of reasons, at this point, it's Azure that is probably doing a bit better. Now, will you change the vendor just for one reason? Not really. And that's where the pragmatic modernization comes into place, that if you modernize, you did all the things with one cloud provider or on-premises, and now a need comes in wherein you want to partner with someone else. Can you do it? You can. This is the fastest way. It's non-disrupted because it's like to like, and it's natively integrated with the cloud provider services. So you don't blink an eye for using any of the services that you want from the cloud provider. Now let's look at it. How does it really look like? So if you look at an on-premises, so there's a real estate, you need to have a data center, you need to have power, cooling, networking, server, storage, all the things. This is the end-to-end stack. The blue portion is what, if you go to a cloud, you still will have to maintain the operating system, the application, as well as the management on top of it. What VMware Cloud provides is the same thing. So it's a hyperscaler solution. So what you get is all the things in blue now will be managed end to end by the hyperscaler. And what you would be doing, again, it's the same thing. Operating system, application, and management resides with you. So you get the benefits of VCF, all the services of the cloud provider, without changing anything. Because the biggest problem that we have seen from the customer side is having an operational model wherein you have multiple, like private, public, manage 2 environments, one changes, all things go for a toss. No, all the things will work seamlessly as if nothing changed. Now let's look at it. When do you introduce a VCF on hyperscaler? So essentially, when do you want to utilize a cloud such as VCF on Azure or Google or anyone? So a lot of customers, they want to dip their toes before taking the dive. And that's where I would say data center extension comes into play. That, okay, I have a strategy that is on premises, but for opportunistic needs, I would use cloud. And it can be short-term capacity. That would be typically for retail, healthcare customers. Regional expansion that, okay, I don't need, but I don't need a data center overall, or a seasonal capacity, or M&A, like you acquire an entity. What you want is, once you acquire, you want to have a new environment for the entity as such. How do you really provide it? and especially if the entity is in some remote location, or for that matter, not close to the core of your business, or doing dev QA, or I would say tier 2 workloads even. Second could be cloud adoption, wherein, okay, there's a data center outsourcing contract that's coming up. So should I use cloud or should I have a on-premises? It could be one, it can be a data center split post divestiture. So for that matter, all the companies, they have something, they spin off. Now the new entity needs to have all the things on their own, and rather than having data center, they would like to have a cloud. You can refresh shading infra, they can, and similarly DR. Now, what are the benefits that you accrue if you utilize a cloud? First is the time to market. Now, if you are, say, for instance, in divestiture, now it's not that you can't have a data center, but how long would it take? Or for that matter, say today you want to utilize APIs from OpenAI. Now you can do that one, or you can stand up an environment of your own, do the training, all the things. What would you like? So if you start doing a lot of things, again, that's just for namesake, but anything that you do, it might take you 6 months to set up the environment, 1 year to start using it, and by the time things would have changed. So if you want to expedite the pace to the market, that is one reason. Second is innovation. Like, okay, I have a great system, but things have changed. So can I utilize the things quickly and innovate fast? That's the second thing. Agility, that, okay, I want to do things today, not tomorrow. You want to scale things. So I have a presence in North America. Now I'm going to APEC, EMEA. Can you please, can I scale? Yes. And finally, skills shortage is the biggest challenge, because things that used to take a decade to change nowadays are changing on an annual basis. Like, think about it, like it was what, 2023 November, like, or that of the AI thing came into play, and look at it in 8 months where we stand. So the thing is that things are changing faster than ever, and skills shortage will only exacerbate over a period of time. So these are the challenges for which customers want, and these are the use cases that we have typically seen. Again, they are, I would say they cover 90% of the use cases, but there are still corner cases that I've not mentioned. Now let's look at it, the benefit that VCF. Oh, by the way, let me stop. And is there a question, Anders, that you would want me to answer?
It doesn't look like we have questions yet. I think we can keep rolling.
Awesome. So there are three key benefits that VMware Cloud Foundation based cloud provides. The first is it's a turnkey service for enterprise apps. So when you think of any application development, so you need server, of course, you need to stand up your application, you need storage, you need networking, but these are just the tip of the iceberg. There are a lot of things for an enterprise application that you need that people don't talk about. What VCF-based cloud provides us, it's a end-to-end. So think of it, rather than buying, if you want to get a car, you don't want to buy a chassis and a tire and steering and all. What you want is a car. And think of it, it's synonymous to that. That if you buy a service from VMware, it's an end-to-end solution. It's not a point solution, because, and there are multiple problems to that. If you buy, like for that matter, you can buy one thing from VMware, second from Cisco, third from someone else, fourth from someone else. The problem with that is that whatever said and done, every company wants to work together for the better of the customer, but things change which you can't control, and you will need many more people on the operational side. So a turnkey service is much better suited than anything that you can think of. Second, it's a non-disruptive migration. So say you had a on-premises environment, you want to move to Google, and tomorrow you want to move from Google back to on-premises, or from Google to Azure or anywhere else. If you want to do that, there are multiple challenges to start off with. Like for instance, the images, like for instance, for VMware, there's VMDK. You go to Azure, there's another image. For AWS, there's another image. Now, if we are using VCF-Powered Cloud, it's the same thing. So stack remains the same. So it's the same virtual machine that moves from one to the other. So and all the challenges that come with migration vanish. Mostly, I would say 95%, 5% still remain that you'll have to worry about, but almost 95% go away at the blink of an eye. And finally, it's the only solution that has a deeply integrated hybrid cloud architecture. So as I said, like whether you want to use a private cloud, public cloud, a contained cloud. When I say a contained cloud, think of, say, healthcare, and you want to work under the confines of HIPAA, or for that matter, if you have a retail environment and you are maintaining customer data. For that, there are a lot of compliance that comes into play. So even that, it's seamless. So rather than managing it separately, you can manage it from a centralized place. Same thing goes across without worrying about whether it's on premises, whether it's in public cloud or anywhere else. And finally, look, money is not increasing. So TCO comes in handy, and you'll like towards the end of it, I'll share a few things. And if anyone wants, please reach out to me and I can share a detailed view of what exactly we do, not just that it's 40% cheaper, 30%, but why, because that is one thing you can understand. Because if I say even it's cheaper or not, it can be for different scenarios. It can be from 20% to 50%, but what exactly would be for you, it would differ. Now, all the things that I talked about, this is just a snapshot. So when you think of any business critical application, think of a payroll, billing, sales automation, accounting, procurement. These applications just don't need the run-of-the-mill hardware or the base infra. What they need is availability, 5 nines for that matter. Can I manage it? Can I configure it? Can I service my customers according to their needs? Is it performant or not? Is it secure? If not, one glitch and you will have to be paying much more than the amount that you spend on any IT team, are met by, as I said, out of the box solutions. So starting from server to storage to networking to security, all the things are there in a single solution, and you can manage the entire life cycle of the hardware across the spectrum from one place. So of course, these are the benefits. I will not delve into it. It's simple to read, but that's what we offer. Second thing is that, as I've mentioned, that it can be in Oracle, AWS, Microsoft, Google, and all the things that I talked about. It is secure. Now, if you want to develop an application and you want to containerize it, be my guest. You want to use a management layer on top of it, it comes blended in. You don't need to pay, like for that matter, rather than going to Ansible and Salt and other things. No, all of it is there. You want to have an infrastructure as a code, you can automate the heck out of it. You can really have templates that write once, use anywhere, everywhere. It is just amazing what you can achieve by a stack solution rather than going to different places. And finally, if you want to utilize services from the cloud vendors or even third-party vendors, like think of Snowflake. Now, I don't know how many folks know, but Snowflake is providing data warehousing service that, if I look at it, out of 225 services, that is one of the services that AWS has. And it was like a pretty good product market fit. So they said that, okay, let me look at it and let me traverse across the clouds and look at the valuation of the company. The reason is that's where the market is headed, that infra is becoming kind of, to a large extent, I'll say a commodity. And then services, rather than going to one cloud vendor, you would want a specialist to provide it, because that specialist will usually do it better than going to one place has got the services but has got a lot of things to look forward to or manage as such. Finally, as I said, that if you look at, say, again, this is with a comparison with AWS, but the challenge remains the same. So if you look at, say, AWS, so if you, as I said, if you want to run any enterprise grade application, it's not just your server storage, but there's a lot that goes behind the scenes to make it enterprise grade. So you have to buy these things. But there are things that you can't even buy, like for instance, a memory overcommit or storage deduplication. Now, I'm not saying that these services are not there. They are certainly there with any cloud provider that you can go. But the thing is, they would use it for their own benefit, and it's obvious. Like, they are providing you a service, and if there are multiple customers, they can utilize all these things, and that's how they can scale and make 40% margins. But the thing is, you can get all the benefits for yourself if you go via VCF on any hyperscaler. And finally, as I said about migration, so if you want to modernize, if you want to migrate, it's like to like. So you don't need to worry about anything. It's live migration. You can like do so many things. It's like, think of it like, say you are accessing Google and a VM goes down, a server goes down. Do you ever know that thing? It's the same thing that VMware is offering, that you can move the workloads without the end user realizing that things have moved. So the live migration from one OS to the other and everything is just phenomenal on that front. This is just a snapshot of a couple of our customers who moved and how quickly they were able to move. Typically, all these things that you say from say 2 months to 11 or 12, they are for a variety of reasons that it took 11 months that the customer wanted. They could have been much faster, but similar things, if you had wanted to go and utilize, say, just AWS or Azure, it would have been at least twice to thrice the time that you see out here. And all you guys, anyone who's a practitioner knows that it's not as simple as just moving workloads. You need to ensure that end-to-end sanity is maintained, and it takes more time than anyone could anticipate. With that, I'll hand it over to my friend Darin, and I'll stop.
All right, thanks, Harsh. Let me get the demo up here. All right. So as Harsh was just alluding to, migrating workloads up to the cloud is a key component to the solution. So I've got a demo prepared here today that is basically showing how to migrate a workload from on-premises, from VCF on-premises, up to Google Cloud VMware Engine. So as you see here on the screen, what I've done so far in prep before beginning this demo is I've deployed the HCX appliance in my on-premises environment. And it is sitting right next to the example, the 3 virtual machines that are running the example app that I'm going to migrate up to the cloud. So let's get started. So if we flip over to, also, as you notice, there's 2 tabs on the left. These represent my vCenter and HCX on-prem, and then over on the right, this is vCenter and HCX and the application, in the cloud. So let's look at the HCX screen. So the first step in basically deploying and getting this all running is configuring the site pairing. So when we go into the site pairing, the first step is really to just connect the 2 sites together so that they can talk. And how we do this with GCVE is I need to enter in the vCenter information, and that is easily available from the portal. So if I right click here, I can copy the link, I can go back to HCX, and I can paste that in. Once again, the username and password, the cloud owner username and password for the vCenter in GCVE, I can just copy that, paste that back in. And last but not least, grabbing the password, hitting cancel, and pasting that in and hitting connect. And what this is going to do is it's going to talk to the HCX appliance in GCVE, connect the two sites together. So if you flip over to the HCX appliance on the GCVE side, you can see that it is also paired with my on-premises environment. So flipping back to HCX on-prem, the next thing we need to do is create a couple of network profiles. These are basically doing the one-for-one matching between what I have on premises and what I have in my GCVE environment. So first, I'm going to click to create a network profile. I'm going to create one for the management. I'm going to paste in my subnet range, give it the prefix, enter the gateway, enter the DNS, enter in the suffix, and then I can select which services are going to be part of this particular network profile. Typically, you'd separate these out, but for the sake of this demo, I'm going to put the management, the HCX uplink, and vSphere replication in one, and I'll separate the vMotion into a separate profile. So I say create. This is going to go out and create that profile. Now, as I mentioned, I'm going to go out and create a vMotion profile next. So I select my vMotion network. I paste in the IP range, prefixes, type in the gateway, DNS, type in the suffix, select vMotion, and then say create. So now that I've got both of the network profiles created, I can flip over and you'll notice the network profiles have already been pre-created on the GCVE side. So there's four separate network profiles over on the GCVE side. These are pre-created when you spin up any private cloud, all ready to go for migrating workloads over. So flipping back to the HCX on-prem side again, the next step is to create a compute profile. So we've defined the equivalence of the networks on-prem and in the cloud. Now we're going to create a compute profile to kind of lay out the compute resources available. So first thing I need to do is name this on-prem compute profile. Say continue. These are the services that are available with the license that will be activated. I say continue. The resources are pre-selected here, so I can just say continue. As far as the reservations, I'm going to select my cluster. I'm going to next select my data store. And finally, I'm going to select the folder. Say continue. As far as the management network profile, that's where I select my management network. Say continue. And for the uplink profile, I select my uplink network. Move along. I also do the same for the vMotion network. Replication is under the same umbrella, so I can just hit continue. Guest network I need to define as well. And then last but not least, the network extension, the overlay network I need to select. And then I say continue. So at this point, it's showing me the WAN connections, and if there's any firewall rules or anything that I need to provide to my firewall team, this is something I can just copy these out. The same is available for the LAN connections. If you look, scrolling through there, are all the ports and IPs that need to be added for firewall rules if between the sites, if necessary. You can close that, say continue. And last but not least, I can review the diagram and say finish. So now that the compute profile is done, now I can create what's called the service mesh. So when I go in to create the service mesh, I basically select the compute profile that I just created. I select the remote compute profile that was pre-created on GCVE that I showed earlier. I say continue. Now, due to the licensing, not all of the services are being activated part of this, so I can just say continue. As far as overriding network profiles, if I wanted to manually or static define some network profile, I could do that here, but in this case, I don't need to. This is what is basically showing the networking of the map of the appliances that it's going to deploy for scaling out the service mesh. I can say continue to that. And last but not least, I'm just verifying stuff and saying continue on this screen. This is a preview of how it's going to all look when it's done. I say continue. I give this a name. In this case, I'll call it Service Mesh 1. Hit finish. And this is going out and it's deploying all the virtual appliances, both on premises and in the cloud. So it's rolling out, everything that HCX needs to tie the networks together and get communications running. So let me close that, back it up. And basically at this point, now I can run a diagnostics on between the appliances to make sure that everything is up and running. This typically takes a little bit, and when it's done, I can click here to look at the results. As you can see, all of the green is indicating that all the connectivity between the sites is looking good and all the probes were successful. So now we can continue. At this point, I can go ahead and create the network extension, which is basically going to stretch the on-premises network that the application lives on up into GCVE so that I can seamlessly vMotion those virtual machines from on-prem into the cloud. So let's go ahead and create that network extension. So I click create. I click the network that the virtual machines I need to migrate are in and say next. At this point, I type in the IP address, mask, and then I can say submit. And this is going out, and it is, now that the network extension is created, let's go over to vCenter on-prem and take a look. So here is one of the web servers for the application that we're going to migrate. As you can see, 64.111 is the IP address on premises. If I click over to the web page, this is basically the example store app that I'm going to be migrating up to the cloud. Now, when I go flip back to VMware HCX, now I can start configuring the migration parameters for this. So I click on migration, say migrate. Now I select the 3 virtual machines that are part of the app, and I add those to the plan. And now here, I just go through and I start selecting all the relevant, what storage I want it to go into, what resource group I want it to go into. In this case, I want to definitely vMotion the workloads from on-premises to GCVE. I select the destination folder. I can select the storage format, and I can even, if I wanted to, I could even schedule this for a later time. There's also switchover options and interconnect options, but before I actually hit the go, it's always best practice to click validate. So this is going out and it is looking for issues, and as you'll notice, it has found a couple of issues. You'll see that with these 3 virtual machines, it noticed that there was a CD drive in there, and that there's a different storage policy in GCVE that requires thin provisioning. So I can go back and check this box to force it to unmount the ISO images. I'll then select thin provisioning since it needs to be thin provisioned based upon the storage policy in GCVE. And then once again, I'll select validate. And now that this is passed and the validation is successful, now I can proceed with the migration. So I can say go. Now, as I mentioned, I have a command window open. I have the ping ready to go, and I am going to start a continuous ping of this workload, this virtual machine on my on-premises for that app. So let's expand these so we can take a look and watch these as they go. If we look at vCenter, again, you'll see that the virtual machine is here. If we expand the tasks, you'll see that it is copying it's syncing the data over to the cloud, and it's starting the vMotion. So if we look at HCX once again, you'll notice that after it finishes syncing with the cloud, the migration is complete. The first thing that it migrated over is the database, the backend database for the web server. If we look at on-premises, you'll notice that the database server is now gone. We flip over to the cloud, to GCVE, and it is currently running in GCVE. That database server is running in GCVE now. So let's flip back one more time to vCenter. We notice that we have 2 more web servers that need to go. So if we look at HCX, you'll see that the first web server is currently migrating. And if we flip over to the ping, you'll see that it is migrating. And while it's migrating, the ping is still running. So again, we can flip back to the cloud. We'll see that this particular web server, the 64.111 web server, has made it. And as far as we could tell, the traffic and the pings kept going to that particular virtual machine. Matter of fact, if we go into the ping and we hit Control-C to stop this, make this a little bigger, like a typical vMotion, during that whole migration, it only lost a single ICMP packet. So it's just as if you did a regular vMotion, right? So typically when you do that vMotion, you're going to notice maybe 1, maybe 2 pings being lost, but that's very typical of a vMotion. So if we switch back to HCX on premises, you'll notice that the last web server is still migrating. And if we look at vCenter when the migration is complete, you'll notice that all 3 of those virtual machines that we initially started with are all up running in GCVE at this point in time. So if we flip back to HCX, obviously there's some reports in the dashboard. We can see that there's 3 virtual machines migrated. And if we flip to the web server, if we click refresh on this, as you can see, this particular the web server is now running in GCVE. And the great thing about this is that the virtual machines were replicated up, vMotioned over without interruption. Now, at some point in the future, you can either, people often ask, what do we do about this stretched network? Well, you can either take that network and bring the gateway over to the cloud, or you can re-IP it during a maintenance window in the cloud. But for the most part, this workload has been migrated non-disruptively to the cloud. And that basically concludes the demo.
Super cool. Thank you, sir. Looks like we've got a question here. It's actually pricing related, so I don't know if this is the spot, but it says, let's see, what is the new pricing for the VCF on the hyperscalers?
So I would recommend please go to the website or talk to your sales counterpart. It's there. It's like if you were accessing it through website. So for instance, let's take a simple solution like Google. So you have to go to VMware's website, and there you will find all the details. And if there is anything missing, please talk to the salesperson who's serving your account, and he or she would be in a better position to give you the exact details.
Yeah. I know for sure that up on the Google website there are the pricing is different per region, and that's something that is referenceable on the Google or VMware website. So definitely you can get an idea, but obviously there's extra, there's discounts for extended periods and whatnot. So 1 year, 3 years, stuff like that. So definitely worth talking to your salespeople.
Exactly, and there'll be a lot more. For that matter, one is the price, but for that matter, if you're an existing customer, you have got an investment in VCF and you want to take it. So there'll be a lot of caveats that will be applicable to you. So that's why I'm saying like it is a simple thing, and probably like when I go to the next slide, that's why I wanted to explain that don't look at anything as a point solution. You should look at it as an overarching detail, because for end to end, you need to plan for things. You need to stand up different environments, for instance. You need to migrate, and it's like your counterpart will be in a much better position to explain to you that, okay, this is your cost structure, not what is just mentioned on the website. But yeah, thank you so much, Darin, for sharing the detail and the links.
Awesome.
Alice, can you, if you give me the control? Thank
All
you.
set. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So let's get into it. Okay. So the next part is, as I talked about, the TCO. And honestly, the TCO really transcends the cost of any cloud. Because the problem that I see most of the time when I talk to CIS is that people have some assumptions, and it's kind of an iceberg that when you come in, you see the tip of it and you're like, okay, this is how big it is. But 9 portions are within the water and 1 is what you see. And similarly, if you look at any cloud, the way you should look at it is understand the architectural details. Okay, this is something that is going to work for me today. What about tomorrow? If things don't pan out, can I move to another cloud? Can I move back? Okay, I want to use APIs. Will they function if they are within this network or not? And how will I manage it? Similarly, you go and look at the connection and latency. Now, what people miss out on, like I'll say a significant percentage of customers spend so much on network and bandwidth that it blows them out of water. Now, did you think about it? Did you think about the firewall configuration when you're operating in a hybrid environment? Similarly, data integration and complexity. Like, okay, if they're heterogeneous environments, how do you access it? What kind of transformation that you need to do? What about the security of data? Is it secure? So data security at rest and data security in motion are 2 different things. Similarly, if you look at the security landscape, okay, how will I monitor? Will I monitor, is it within the confines of the premises or is it moving across 2 environments? What's the regulatory compliance that I need to adhere to if I want to utilize something? And finally, as I said, like skills and expertise, these are integral things. If people don't consider, that would become your Achilles heel. So please ensure that you do. And that's what I wanted to say, that don't look at the cloud cost as a point. You have to look at it beyond, as a solution, as part of your strategy, not just I bought 5 things and it's done. Because the cost of cloud will be potentially 1 on a scale. So if you're spending, say, $5, worst case, like it will be $4 will be spent on something else. So ensure that you look at it holistically, not just as a point. This is a study that Gartner did. So hybrid cloud, if you look at it, the Magic Quadrant was released last year. And VMware, for that matter, was not just a leader when it comes to completeness of vision, but even the ability to execute. And there are multiple factors that they evaluated. These are the 5 key use cases on which they evaluated all the vendors. And if you look at like cloud native apps, hybrid infra use case, edge use case, assured workload, multi-cloud use case, VMware was ahead of the overall entities such as your likes of Microsoft and AWS or anyone else by leaps and bounds. So being a leader in all means something. And there's like, if anyone wants to, please go access Gartner's website. It's all the details are there. It would be much more conducive when you go through it in a lot in detail. But it's phenomenal what we have achieved. And if the future is hybrid, thinking about how you should ensure, because if you don't do it now, the amount that you will be spending to change the architecture would be much more than anything that you would be spending today. Now it comes to the, I hope you guys are aware of it, that what VMware is allowing is like bring your own license. So essentially you buy a license and you can move to any of the clouds or even a cloud service provider. So that is a huge list, by the way. And what you should look at it is how it helps us before modernization, so that when you're planning, so for instance, when you're planning that, okay, what would be my architectural configuration? What would be my choice? Am I flexible or not? How it could help. Second is during modernization. So when you're modernizing it, most of the customers, almost I'll say 95% of the customers have, say, a VMware stack. Now, if they are moving to cloud, for instance, what you want is that, okay, I want to utilize the service, but the challenge during modernization is, okay, will I have to spend, say, on 2 environments or 1? Will my investment be protected? Yes, no. If I spend on AWS, can I go to Google tomorrow? Yes or no? And you can have the seamlessness, you can modernize at a pace that is unthinkable, because it's a seamless integrate, like move from one environment to the other, and then utilizing any service that you want. And post modernization, it's the entitlement consistency. So across the board, it's the same. So rather than having a operational model for your on premises or for your cloud or for your hybrid, you have a single operational model that extends boundaries. The benefit of that is, say, especially I'll say for regulated industries, what happens is that for a particular environment, you need to have a fort, like for that matter, all the things that I talked about. Now you add to that, in that mix, a specialist who can just manage for that, and you're developing for that particular environment. With VCF on cloud, you have seamlessness. Owing to that, it's not just the cost of cloud, but the operation cloud as well as the compliance and anything that comes with it, that really lowers your cost, your operation, improves your operational maturity, and helps you do things much faster at a cheaper price than anywhere else. And this is a simple, just a depiction of what I was talking about. So you bought a VCF license, you want to go to Google, so you get credits for it, and you have to pay whatever the delta is to Google, or you can go to Google and procure the whole stack, so whole cloud from them. So you have both avenues in front of you, and the same thing goes across other cloud providers as well. And this is just a snapshot of why you would use, for instance, Google over Microsoft, or Microsoft over Google, or Oracle over someone, and the regions where it's present. With that, I'll stop. I believe we're at the top of the hour as well. And Anders, is there any question that might have come?
No,
Or if anyone has any question, please let us know.
Not seeing anything new. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for joining us. I know June 19th is a vacation at a lot of places, so such a awesome crowd. We really appreciate you guys joining us. Thank you again.
Yeah. Lot of folks in the audience today. So thank you for joining us. I know a lot of you may have come in on holidays, so we appreciate you making the time.
Yeah, thanks
Awesome.
everyone.
Alrighty, well with that, I think we're about good. Gentlemen, thanks again for joining us today, and we appreciate you putting all the content together and running the demo for us. And you know, a lot of these sessions depend so much on you being able to take the time out of your day to come, not only come present, but also to have the content to do so and give folks the opportunity to ask questions. So appreciate that as well. So look forward to seeing you again, hopefully. And with that, we'll call it a day.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a great day.